In fact, let's go ahead and get started because I know we have some really exciting things going on. I am Emily Bell McCormick, and I am the founder of the Policy Project, which is, as many of you have figured out, kind of the holding organization for the Period Project, where we worked on getting period products into schools and working on some menstrual policy. We are continuing the work there, but we've also expanded into the Teen Center Project. And we're super excited about this. I know a lot of you know about it, but I just want to give you 2 quick minutes about it for those of you that haven't heard this before. And then we are getting into our legislative boot camp. It is Mary Catherine Perry, who's been chatting, is going to lead out on that. And I am super excited. I'll introduce her in just one moment. But quickly about the Teen Center Project. So the goal of the Policy Project, the goal of our work is basically to fix problems or issues that we see in our communities and do that via policy solutions. And the reason that we chose policy, there are a lot of ways to do good in this world, many ways. And most of those ways are really needed, right? But one thing we love about policy that we can see very clearly is that instead of kind of fixing a problem after it's happened, we try to go upstream a bit and stop it from happening in the first place. Because it's just like that kind of famous saying that's like okay, now I can't remember, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure, right? That whole idea, that's very much the idea with policy. It's like if we can maybe prevent people from not having housing, then we're not needing to build a shelter for people who are unhoused, right? We'd like to prevent that in the first place. And so that's what we kind of focus on. So with the Teen Center Project, our big goal is to kind of help students, all students in the state of Utah, but specifically those with a special focus on those that are unhoused or experiencing homelessness. And as we know, it's about 15,000 students in the state are experiencing homelessness. That ends up being about 1 in every 50 students. So if you think of a classroom with as about 25 kids, if you put 2 classrooms together, you've got 1 student who is experiencing homelessness. And so that's just unacceptable. Our state is really great we do pretty well with issues regarding poverty and trying to take care of people. We're a very giving state. I mean, look at all the people on this call tonight. You know, we want to get involved. We want to help. Sometimes we don't know how. And so this is an area where we can all jump in and help. And so the solution that we are working on right now, this legislative session, which Mary Catherine will talk about, is basically creating a space in every single high school in the state of Utah. This physical space in the high school would include things for showers, so that kids have like a safe and private place to shower, where no more gym showers with like 10 shower heads. Like none of us want to do that, right? No more gym showers, private showers with laundry facilities. So a washer and a dryer, it seems so simple. It seems so basic to probably most of us on this call. And yet for some people that is really, they don't have that. They don't have that in their homes. And so going to class and being stinky, they're not going to go. It's too embarrassing. There's too much shame and stigma. And also having accessible food, food that they can eat right there in school. So if they're hungry and not getting nutritious meals at home. One thing that we've found that is one of the most important elements of this, and where we really will rely a lot on you, is that we also need really supportive community around this, and a very capable person working in these teen centers. They can help refer these kids to outside resources where they can get the help and assistance they need, because the school can't do everything. It's not intended to do everything. But what we can do is for kids who are not old enough to hold jobs and provide for themselves and get housing, we can help connect them to community resources or members of the community who can help them outside of school. So tonight is really exciting. I know most of you knew all of that. But tonight's really exciting because Mary Catherine Perry is our very own director of I just almost said legal infograph, is our very own director of policy and government affairs. And her background is so unique and so interesting. She actually worked for the Utah legislature for almost a decade. And we laugh about this because she worked in legislative research, which means when a legislator, someone like a representative or a senator, said, hey, I kind of think this is an idea that I have, and I'd love to see if we could do it. They would give that to Mary Catherine, who would then go do the research to see if that was like feasible and making it feasible in that government setting. And so we do laugh sometimes because turns out that Mary Catherine knows more than many of our legislators know. You spend a decade back there doing research and you become pretty wise in these areas. So she is going to give us a brief but very impactful boot camp on how to deal with the legislative process tonight. So Mary Catherine, I'm handing it over to you.
Hey, thank you. I am super excited about this tonight. I am going to be try and be as entertaining as the women that you're used to, but it's also the legislative process, but it can be so exciting. I know this sounds so weird. I love the legislative process. It is so cool. And once you kind of start to figure it out and get a little bit comfortable with it, you're like, this is actually one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life, is to make a difference here. And so we're all kind of starting off at different places, probably with our understanding of how government works. So I'm going to give you just a really brief, you remember Schoolhouse Rock, like I'm just a bill, that kind of scenario where we have like the three branches of government. So we have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. The legislative branch, they enact the laws. The executive branch enforces the laws. That's our governor for the state. And then our judicial branch, they interpret the laws. Those are our judges and things. So we're going to focus on the legislative branch, and those are the ones who enact our laws. In Utah, we all have a House of Representatives and a Senate. If you divide Utah by population into 75 districts, we all have a representative that we elect to represent us. So that's a representative. Then you layer on top of that, like this, 29 districts, and that's our Senate. So then we each have a representative and a senator, and the Senate districts are a lot bigger than the House districts. So each of us has a representative and a senator that hopefully we've either cast a vote for or against. It's okay, either way, but you've cast a vote and had your say, but you have somebody who's elected to represent you and your voice in the legislative process. So we have 104 legislators. They're the only ones in the entire state who can make or change or amend laws. That's it. But when you look at the process, there are so many opportunities for us to be involved with that process beyond just electing them or not electing them, however your vote went. But there are so many opportunities in the legislative process to have your voice heard. So when the legislative session starts, it's 45 days a year. It starts in January and ends in the beginning of March. So we're almost there. The legislative session for 2023 starts on Tuesday, January 17th. So it's today, Tuesday, so a week from today. And then it'll run for 45 days until March 3rd. And the legislature will meet in the Capitol building. Have any of you been up to the Capitol? For those of you with the camera on, have you been up there? A lot of us, like our team has gotten like super comfortable going up there. We go up there a lot. I used to work up there. It's our building, right? We all paid for that building. We are continuing to pay for that building. That is where the legislature does the people's work. So just remember, that is our building. So you belong there. You belong there just as much as everybody else. And there are opportunities where you can go in there and make a difference. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So when the legislature meets, there are two main things that they need to do during that 45-day session. They need to pass some laws, but they also have to set the state's budget for the year. I don't know if any of you have any idea what the size of our state budget is for just to run the state of Utah for 1 year. It's $28.4 billion. So that's how much money the legislature has to decide how to spend. And they don't have a lot of time to make those decisions, but they have to decide how that's going to be spent during the session. So we have appropriation committees, and those are the funding committees that meet up there. But then we also have what are called standing committees, and they're the ones that debate the bills, and bills that eventually could become laws, or if they fail, then they're abandoned. They don't they don't pass. During the course of a session, they'll debate or have introduced several hundred bills. It's too many for any single human to read word for word or to fully understand, including our legislators, who I think sometimes go above and beyond, but even if they went as beyond as they possibly could, it would be tricky to understand each bill, which is where we come in, right? Because we have interests that we hold in our heart or in our lives that we find really important to us. And that's where we can come forward and write to them or come to a committee hearing and speak to these bills and tell them about why we think this is a good bill, why we think this is a bad idea, how it could be changed to be a better idea. And because there are so many opportunities for that during the legislative session, that's how our laws can become better and better. It's from public input. And I'll tell you really quick, I did an internship in Washington, D.C., and I'll tell you, it was fascinating, but the wheels of the federal government are so big and so slow that change comes very slowly. It's really hard. And when I came back to work for the Utah legislature, even though the wheels are still big and clunky sometimes and hard to move, I found they moved a lot more quickly. And the opportunities for the public to get involved with the process were easier. And so as I worked with the legislature and I sat through committee after committee as they discussed these bills, the legislators would talk about emails that they got from their constituents. They would talk about phone calls that they had gotten. They would even say, I got 20 emails today about this bill. 5 were against it and 15 were for it. And so I'm going to vote in favor of this bill. They really took into account simple emails and phone calls that they were getting from constituents when they decided how they were going to vote. In fact, one committee hearing I went to where they had a bill before them, there was nobody in the room except one man in the back. And he said, if he raised his hand when they said, does anybody in the public want to speak to this bill? And all the legislators were sitting around the committee table, and this gentleman raised his hand and he said, they said, go ahead and speak. And he said, I know that you're trying to do a good thing, but if you pass this bill the way it is, you're going to shut my farm down because I think that you've overlooked something here. And they kind of looked around at each other and they were like, well, we don't want to do that. So they told the sponsor of the bill, I want you to go work with this gentleman, make sure you've worked out that problem, and then bring the bill back tomorrow. And they did. It was just that one man in the back of the room. And they're like, we want to make sure this is right. And that man all by himself changed the outcome, not just for him, but there was probably somebody else that fell into that category too. And even now with like COVID, there's so many, they live stream a lot of things. And so you don't have to be physically in the Capitol to watch committee hearings, to watch floor debates for the House or for the Senate. You can stream them and you can even make public comment from online. Sometimes they'll go to the online public and say, does anyone want to speak to this bill? And you can log in and speak to the bill, and they'll pipe it in through the room. It's a pretty amazing thing. I've spoken before a legislative committee. I know Emily's spoken before legislative committees. It's kind of exhilarating, right? To like step into that moment and be like, they're all listening to me and I'm gonna try to persuade them to see my perspective. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. But you're on record. You are on record. This is how I feel. This is why I think my idea is a good one, and I'm asking you to vote a certain way. It is a really exciting moment to kind of step into that space and enter that world of legislative policy. So a few things that I wanted to talk about too is with the Teen Center project, we are definitely asking for money for this one to be so that high schools can access this funding. So this is going to be a lot of work with appropriations, more so than was with the period project. We had a fiscal note on our bill. If you guys are familiar with that, it's kind of a price tag as to how much it's going to cost. But this one is going to be more of a budget request. And so if this is something that you feel like you can reach out to, we will give you the names of committee members and people that you can reach out to. But I'll tell you, the people that care most about your opinion are your legislators. So your representative, your senator, they are going to care the most because you live in their district and you're a voter. When you write, I have just a few tips. When you do write your email or your handwritten letter, but I will tell you, emails, I've seen legislators on the House and Senate floor reading through their emails during floor debates. There's a few tips that I'm going to give you about writing to them. First of all, be clear. Be clear and to the point. Second of all, be concise. They don't have time to read lots and lots of narrative and background. Say, you know, this is the bill. This is the title of the bill. This is why I believe you should vote this way or that way. Here's another one. Don't use all caps or too many exclamation points. It is a little bit alarming sometimes when stuff comes across like you're yelling at them. And then also in the subject line, put something like from your constituent. I'm your constituent. Signal to them that you're not just sending this to 104 legislators. You live in their district and this is important to you. Doesn't mean you can only write to your representative and your senator. You should reach out to others as well. But when you do write to your legislator, make sure they know that you live in your area and in their area. And when you write the body of the email, you can either put your address or say, I'm from Roy, Utah, or I'm from Salt Lake City, or I'm from Logan, or wherever you're from. Put that in your email too. Okay, so I'm going to just really quick try to share my screen and just show you, because once you decide you want to follow a bill or follow a committee that might be discussing like the Teen Center project appropriation, when the legislature goes into session, they're just kind of on their own schedule. It's hard and it's tricky to follow everything, but when you go to the legislature's website, you can look up who your legislators are. You can actually sign up for notifications so that if a bill moves along in the process, you'll be notified by email. So there's all these things so you can let this dashboard work for you. You don't have to do all the checking. They will let you know how things are going. So I'm going to try and do that. Do I do my entire screen? Brooke, you're going to have to give me a guidance. On the present?
Yes, do the one that says present, and then you can probably just present your entire screen, and it will do a little infinity mirror for a second, but then when you go to the window that you want to share, it'll work. Okay. Oh, shoot. You know what? It's wanting to change my security and privacy. Shoot. Oh no, that might make you restart the whole thing. Mary Catherine, do you trust me enough that you could direct me on the legislative website?
Oh, for sure. I just need to get my screen back up. Can you see me still?
Wait, we can see you. Okay, I'm gonna now share my screen, and this is really a boot camp because you're gonna tell me where to go. All right, where do you want me to go?
Okay, awesome. Okay, so go to le.utah.gov. This is perfect because then we can see how I'm doing, because we can see how Brooke's doing. Okay, so if you go to legislators, that first pull that down, and you go to find by address /map.
Okay.
It's okay if you don't know who your legislators are. Trust me, it's okay. And by the way, we just had a bunch of redistricting where they redrew all the lines. So a lot of people who you thought might be your legislator might not be anymore. So it's worth checking out. So then you can enter your street address. So if you want, Brooke, you can put in any address you want, and then a zip code.
Welcome to come to my house.
Okay, and then look at that. Those are Brooke's legislators, Representative Peterson and Senator Grover. So those are the ones who are going to want to listen to Brooke most of all, because she will, or she may or may not vote for them next time based on if they listen to her or not. Anyway, so those are important people to remember. Okay, so then if you go over to bills, I'm just going to show you really quick. Go to 2023 bills. And then go to more 2023 general session information. Okay, perfect. Then go down to bill request, sponsor, subject, or committee under bill tracking options. So say you're really interested in education bills. Like I care about what's happening at my school. So go to subject and select, and then go down to the E's and go to education. Those are all the bills that have been either numbered already, which means they're ready to go, or that are in process relating to public education. It's a lot. And so if you go back up, for example, there was one that I saw that was pretty straightforward. School assembly notice requirements. Brooke, do you see that? House Bill 82.
Yes.
Will you click on that one really quick? This is a bill that Representative Ballard is running, and it has to do with notifying parents 3 days in advance that their children are going to be attending an assembly. So if you didn't know this, and all of a sudden next school year, you started getting notifications of assemblies, you'd be like, oh, maybe my school just decided to send me notices all the time. But when in fact, this was actually passed as a law. This is just an idea. So you might really think this is a great idea. You might think this is a terrible idea. But regardless, you might be like, I want to kind of see how this works out. So if you go back, Brooke, just go back one screen, and then you can click that box next to it, that empty box, school assembly notice requirements. Okay, and now you're going to be tracking that bill. So when it's introduced to committee, it's going to, because it's a House bill, it's going to start on the House side. When it goes through the process, you're going to receive a notification every single time it changes status. So like it passed the House committee, and you're going to get an alert said, hey, by the way, House Bill 82 just passed the House committee. In committee is your best opportunity to go up to the Hill and voice your public comment. Sometimes the rooms are really empty and it's easy to make a comment. Sometimes they're really full and there's actually so many people in there, they can't get to everybody, but it's actually, those bills are kind of fun to watch too. So, okay, so that's how you track a bill. And then there's a spot where you can see, you can check if you want email notifications, or if you just want to, when you come to this dashboard again, that it'll just show you the status. Now, if you want to go over here to committees, Brooke, do you see in the middle? Go to appropriations there. Okay, so will you go down to the Public Education Appropriation Subcommittee and click on that? Okay, so now if you want, on the subscribe button, or let's see, I'm trying to think, you can get all the email notifications of their agendas, what they talked about. You can also see on here that they've started to list when they're going to meet. And so if you're interested in how those appropriations are going to be discussed, you can check the agendas and they will put on there every appropriation that they're going to talk about. Now, just really quick, the notification requirement for our legislature to notify the public is really short. It's only 24 hours. So they are only required by law to give you 24 hours of notice of what's going to be on an agenda at any given meeting. So really the legislative session is a lot of like waiting and then all of a sudden, going up to the Hill or just, logging on and seeing what's happened, because sometimes things move really fast. Anyway, so that's how you can start tracking bills and committees on the website. I think,
and Mary Catherine, so
yes.
I'm going to hit subscribe, but yes. I have to make an account, right?
Yes. I was just going to say, I don't think you're logged in. So you have to first create an account. So make sure that you do that. When you go to log in, it'll have you enter your email address and create a password. So just make sure you do that. If you have any questions, please email me. I would love to walk you through this because I love this. And I know our time's getting short, and I want to let Brooke and Emily kind of talk about where we go from here. Just know that the legislature has a lot on their plate. They have a lot going on, but it is their job to represent you. So they need to hear your voice. They want to know what their constituents are thinking and what they're doing. And it just occurred to me right before I got on, I'm like, we need to take y'all up. I know you've been to the Capitol, a lot of you. We would love to do a day on the Hill where we're like, oh, it's just like in the middle of the session, we're going to meet in the rotunda. We're going to like go up to the House gallery and watch the representatives, or the Senate gallery, watch our senators debate, go to a committee hearing and get comfortable, because that's our goal too. We want you to advocate for things for, public education and of course the Teen Center project, but we want you comfortable up there so that you feel like you can get involved on this and any other issue that you feel like is important to you, your children, your neighbors, or people in your life that that you want to advocate for. So we might have a few questions, but Brooke and Emily, I want to turn some time to you so you can chat. You can talk about this too.
Great. Wow, Mary Catherine, every time you talk to me about how our government works, I learn something new. So thank you so much. I just want to talk about what our action items should be as this group moving forward this month, now that the session is starting in 1 week. Our commitment to you is that we are being loud about this in all the ways that we can, so that your senator and representative will have heard of this project by the time you reach out to them. What we need to happen over really this first month in January is going to be the key time to contact your representative, because if we don't get support for the Teen Center project early, they might just table it and never get back to it in the short 45 days they have to meet. And so on your to-do list is, number one, to find the representative and senator from your district, right? The ones that cover the places you live, because they're going to care, as Mary Catherine said, about your voice the most. And let them know that you want them to support the Teen Center project. If that's not enough for you, if you're feeling really confident about using your legislative voice, the second most important group of people to contact is the Education Appropriations Subcommittee. So I'm actually going to share my screen one more time, and this is going to be recorded and put on YouTube, and we just walked through how to find this. But the Public Education Appropriations Subcommittee, is this a mix of, okay, so we've got this is all senators, is that right?
They haven't updated it to put in the House members, but I can copy the whole list. I've got it on a Word doc and put it in the chat.
Okay, and we can also email this out. But these are the people that are really going to be making the key decisions about the Teen Center project and about funding for schools to implement these changes. And so this group of representatives, and this group of senators, along with the representatives that Mary Catherine is going to send out, these are key people that we could write to. And the content of that is really going to be the strongest if you have taken the opportunity to visit your local high school and find out what needs are present in that school. And so I know in December, I think we invited all of the community champions and volunteers to figure out what services are already being offered in your school, and to contact that person who is running the food pantry or the clothing closet, or, XYZ, whatever your school is offering. If you can talk to that person and maybe learn some of the stories and the needs personal to your school and school district, and then include, a sentence or two about that when you're writing these legislators. If you can say, I visited Harriman High School and I found out that there are 50 kids coming to the food pantry every week, and that they really could use some more support to increase services like that. If you can be personal about your school district, your schools, and include that as, I'm an involved member of my community and I know what my school district needs, that's going to be so huge to the representatives and senators. So write your own representative and senator, then the Public Education Subcommittee, and make sure you're saying, I'm your constituent, or I'm an involved community member, and I really would like you to support this idea. So that is our ask moving forward. And we'll also send a follow-up email with some instructions as well, so that if this is feeling like I'm kind of lost, I can't remember how to find the name of my senator, we'll make sure to send that out so it's really easy to follow. But this month, that's our ask to you, is to let your representatives know that you support this idea. Emily, did you want to hit on anything else?
I would just say I am so impressed because it's a lot to take in. There is a lot of information there, and it does feel like a foreign language. If you're kind of like, this is a lot, you're totally, we feel you. That's how we all felt when we first learned this. We actually had Mary Catherine come up with this like 1 minute rap about the legislative process, which I'm a little disappointed that she didn't start with because it was pretty good. And we would do it for like the students. And I think the whole time we're all like, we don't even know what she's talking about.
That'll be the teaser for next time. Come back.
That's right. That's right. So never say the legislative process is boring. It's very exciting indeed. But needless to say, thank you for sticking with us on this. It is just, it's actually unbelievable how much your voice matters. And it has been shown, there is a study that says 7 letters to a senator or representative can change their mind on an issue. That is crazy to me. You think that people have their minds made up, and they do, but they really are, as Mary Catherine said. This is our house. This is, we built like it is our money that pays to keep the heat on and the lights on, and we're the ones that elect these people. So let's use it and let's have them hear our voices. And anyway, thank you so much for sticking to this, and we are excited to have you. We'll get a day on the Hill. I think that was such a fun idea, Mary Catherine. So for anybody who wants a little hand holding, we're going to hold your hand and we'll get you up there this session. And then other than that, I think we're done. Or do we want to open up for questions? I know it's kind of late. And
does anybody have any quick questions that we can answer? And you're also welcome to email me or anything, or any of us. We are all beginning to be very experienced, but any questions?
Oh my gosh, everyone's pros. Everyone absorbed all the information.
Everyone's
Awesome.
unmute. Sorry. I have a question. So as far as getting together with our district, is that just on us? Is there do you guys have a date like, hey, get a hold of all the girls that are in your school district and try to come up with a plan? Or is it just like, hey, here's our school and we should be doing that?
Yeah, definitely. As far as we will let you know when we are planning get-togethers. Right now we have the one in northern Utah, southern Utah, and then one in Salt Lake that we're kind of targeting for the Wasatch Front. Really, it's totally on you guys. And if there is like a date that you would like a few members of our team to come, and if you can get a group of people together, we would absolutely love to do that. But we'll kind of put that on each of you if you want to have something specific to your school district beyond kind of these bigger regional events. We'll let you take the lead on that, and then we're happy to support where we can.
So, and that might be, and that was where I was like, I didn't want to get a hold of our principal and bombard him with like 5 different visits. So if we individually got a hold of our high school groups, planned a time where all of us that could go at the same time, we can all talk to him, that way we're all getting the information and not taking too much of his time or her time.
Yes, that is the ideal approach for sure.
Okay, then I'll get in touch with everyone. Okay, that's it.
Okay, I have a question. I am in Shane County in eastern Utah, and the last time I checked, I was the only person signed up for my high school. Another gal is signed up for another high school in our county. Who do I even go to? Where do I go first? I don't even know what they have.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And that is exactly where we recommend starting, is literally if you call your front office of the school and ask, I'm just looking to figure out some of the needs and how I can support at the high school. I mean, literally schools run on volunteers. So that's amazing. And if you can just ask the front office, can you connect me with the person who runs, if you guys have a food pantry or I don't even if you guys give out food on the weekends or like whatever, that's a really good place to start. And the office workers should know kind of who to connect you with. Talking to that person to understand the needs of the school is really the best way to understand what's going on. And then we will be guiding everyone as we kind of move further along in this process. When would be the right time to talk to your principal? I mean, if you're ready, if you have a group and you can have some organization and you feel ready to talk to the principal, great. But as of right now, where we're still in the legislative process and we're still trying to get the funding for this, really focusing on the legislative aspect right now. And then once we get that funding, we'll kind of transition more into individual schools once that funding is available. But right now, starting to understand the needs and what's already being offered is key. And just trying to find the connection with, in bigger schools, there's often 2 or 3 people who are devoted to this. In smaller schools, it might be a teacher who's doing double duty, or it might be the PTA president, or just trying to find that person who really has some ownership over this in your school is an amazing first step.
Okay.
And
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to add to that, what Brooke said. Sometimes always it is easier for us to go out when we feel like we have a team behind us. I find that's true for myself. Mary Catherine talked about testifying in committee meetings. It's so much easier when you have 4 people that you like sitting behind you who agree with what you think. And so anytime you're going out there, please, please, please let them know, hey, I'm helping with a group working on the Teen Center project, and I'm here as a representative of them. We're just trying to kind of figure out what resources we have for students who might be in need. And so please, by all means, that's why we have this. We consider you part of our team. And sincerely, I mean, today we gave speeches at 2 different events, and we talk about you. We say we have this like army of women behind us that are all out there doing their thing and taking care of their communities. And so we hope that you start feeling that ownership over this, and please claim the name by all means.
Okay.
Like go
Good.
in and just let them know. And then when you need help, you just reach out to us and just say, Kristen Andrus, I know a lot of you follow her. She is so awesome. She's actually had an incredible opportunity to be at the Jazz game on the second row tonight. So we were like, go, don't stay. But, reach out to any of us, including Kristen, and we're there for you. Like if we need a special trip, if we need we're going to make it happen because we consider you our team. So we're looking to you. And so please own that you are with the Teen Center project.
That's
we
great.
consider
Thank
you
you.
part of that.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions?
I was just going to say too, Emily and Brooke and Kristen and and Jane too, we've all been meeting with superintendents. We've been meeting with school board members. We've been meeting with a lot of people from the top too. And so we're kind of all closing in on the messaging here. So just so you know too, a lot of almost like, I feel like we've talked to so many superintendents who are aware of this, just as Emily said, like they're talking about this and they're talking about the needs. And so they should be ready to recognize exactly why you're there.
I saw in the chat someone asking if there are Teen Center t-shirts available for sale. We went through a lot of them at the rally at the Capitol, but if there's enough interest, we can do another order and get those on sale for you guys. So
yeah, we do have, what we'll do is on the next newsletter that goes out, we'll throw just a Google form in there that says like, what size are you? And, kind of get some of your information. We've actually placed another order. I haven't told everybody on the team, but we have more coming. So please wear them when you go and talk to your people. That would be great.
Okay, I feel like we really powered through a lot of information tonight. Thanks for everyone who stuck with us. I know we're like 15 minutes over. We promise we respect your time, but a lot of good conversations going on tonight. Again, please reach out to us over email if you have any questions. We'll be posting this on YouTube and sending out some follow-up information. But this is really exciting. We've kind of all been like leading up to this moment of the legislative session starting. And this is kind of just the beginning of this project, is getting the green light for some funding for this. And so we really appreciate all of your help. And time that you're dedicating to this project. And so we hope to see many of you in the coming month at the Northern Utah event, the Southern Utah event, and the Wasatch Front event. And if we're not coming close to your area, but you want to help host something closer to you, please reach out so we can make that happen.
Thank you all so much for everything you're doing. You are making a huge difference.